What's good, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. I am one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Eric Turner. And Eric, it's another week. It's another week of game film. It's another week of hard knocks. It's another week of some risers, some fallers on the roster, depth chart conversations. We have a jam-packed, as we normally do here, jam-packed episode. A lot of film in this one, which should not be a surprise because it's a film room. So we're going to keep things light and brief early on. But yeah, we got some hard knocks pieces. We got some overall Bills versus Bears thoughts, some film to dive into. Fun episode. But before we do that, how you going? How you doing? How's it going? How you feeling?
Good. Hey, we're at our typical time.
I know. Look at that.
This is the first time in months that we're actually live at 5. We did it. Not by choice, really. Both of our work schedules were ridiculous this week, especially today. So we did have to push it all the way to 5. Right now, football for my son, who's 5, just started. So they're doing 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. So unfortunately, this is the practice I'm missing today. It's the first one though. But normally once the season starts, next week it'll be Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I won't miss anything. So
that makes me feel better. I still feel terrible about that.
I
feel awful.
It's all good. But like you said, we have a lot of film. Quickly, we'll talk about Hard Knocks. I want to get your thoughts on the episode from last night. And then obviously the shellacking that the Bills took on behalf of the Bears, which 2 years in a row, really, when it comes to that. So we want to break down over 20 clips from that game about some of the young players who we believe could have major impacts this year. And with film comes tracking their development. So we're going to be talking about Landon Jackson, TJ Sanders, Deone Walker, Jordan Hancock, of course, and some others off the top. But I'm excited. Long film room session ahead of us. But again, what's your overall thoughts on Hard Knocks or anything stand out from that episode last night?
First thing, so we have something kind of schematic and strategic to get into, but the first thing, we got film of the McGovern pizza party that he told us about back in the film room.
Still waiting on the invite.
Dude, I don't see the same thing. And I geeked out when it was they showed it for maybe a quarter or a half of a second with him putting making the pizza muffins that he told us about that are one of his favorite things where he makes them in the muffin tins. I geeked out. I told my wife, I was like, he told us about that. Everything that they're showing, he told us. And I thought that was super cool from a us perspective and kind of knowing that. And it was cool to see that. There were a lot of cool things, honestly. I thought the improv class in Chicago was super cool. That the guy running that, I love the way he talked to KJ Hamler and called him a warm, soft brick wall.
He sensed that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, I was like, is that a compliment? No, I think it is. He means it well. Yeah. But that exercise I thought was cool, and the purpose behind it and how much the team liked it. It's always cool to see the team building activities that teams engage in Hard Knocks. I thought that was cool. But the schematic piece, you and I talked about it a little bit before we went online. I thought it was interesting. Bobby Babich and, Coach Holcomb, the linebackers coach, both made references to 3 and outs, getting stops and getting the ball back. And Bobby Babich's specific verbiage was kind of it's 3 plays and get the ball back to Josh Allen, or less than that to get the ball. To get the ball back to Josh Allen. And then Coach Holcomb, his verbiage was, literally saying preaching the importance of 3 plays takeaway. 3 plays are a takeaway. And so this idea of, takeaway still being important. We know that. That's what this defense has been the past several years. But they were really bad last year on forcing 3 and outs.
Yeah.
And granted, we didn't have Hard Knocks last offseason. So I don't know if this was a new coaching point or if it's par for the course, or maybe it's been par for the course, but because they were bad last year, they wanted to emphasize it. But, we've talked about it on this show. For as good as they were with the turnovers, they were lacking in some other areas from an advanced metric drive stats perspective and, new series generated, 3 and outs, punts, all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of times it was purely relying on the aggressiveness, which can work for this team and has in the past. But I thought that was an interesting little piece tying that into everything. And then also, if you want to go big picture and running that up the flagpole, Sean McDermott preaching aggressive and physical and nasty. It seems like just even more so than years past, they're really emphasizing taking the ball away, playing on the front foot, attacking, multiple references to that in that episode. And I thought the 3 and out pieces were interesting to know, kind of coming down from the defense.
Yeah, they want them to attack. They want them to be aggressive. They want them to play fast. Now, we didn't see almost any of those things
It
in
was
the.
so ironic that it came leading up to the
But with that said, there's no game planning there. And that is, I'm gonna start there. That's where the third down piece is what is so exciting, because they haven't shown anything exotic.
Yeah.
And if the team in the offseason, when they did their self scouting for third downs, and they had to come up with some kind of schematic thing or things that will combat what they're going to see from opposing offenses. So one, that is exciting for us, but they have yet to show it, obviously.
Yeah.
Think about it. 16 offensive touchdowns surrendered on third down alone last year. That was ranked 28th. They allowed 1,361 yards on third down. That was 27th overall. A completion percentage of 66.9%, which is 32nd overall. So there's a lot of red when I'm looking at a lot of these stats at third down. And so I agree. They brought in some different personnel. I assume and believe they will bring in some different schematic stuff on third downs, some more exotic stuff to get them not just turnovers, but to, in many ways, get off the field and to force punts and whatnot. And so, yes, that is exciting to see. And I thought it was really cool to, along those lines with the coaching, to see Joe Brady kind of running the room, but not with the players, running the room and coaching his coaches, his staff. I thought that was really cool. And I wish there was more of that. I wish there was more of, maybe it's between coaches and players in the film room, right? Like breaking down some film or something like that. That'd be cool to hear some of those conversations. It was cool to hear Brady in that sense, telling his coaches what he wants them to stress or highlight, good or bad, in their individual meetings and in film room sessions.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool. Like, even just the little thing of like not only playing through the whistle, but also like from a teammate perspective and like always picking up a guy off the ground. And he highlights, I think it was Vandermark and Keon for helping somebody off the ground, like those little pieces. And I think that's another cool breadcrumb into the overall mentality. Like we know for the last year, it's been everybody eats, but I think this is like another breadcrumb in terms of that overall like togetherness or that team mentality. And, not to be corny, but the old type of like, all for one and one for all type of deal that this offense seems to operate on. Yeah. I wish we got more of that. I wish there was more. When they started with that, I was like, oh, they're gonna like, yeah, let's talk some tape. Let's show what we're going over. Let's tie. And then it was like quick, the 45 seconds, and then it went away. I wish we got more of that. And yeah, I hope we get some changes on third downs. And to kind of piggyback off some of your points, Buffalo Bills third down defense in 2024, 30th in conversion rate, 29th in EPA per play, 31st in success rate, 31st in EPA per pass.
Yeah.
Not
the
great.
List goes on and
in
on.
a lot of metrics. Yeah, the list goes on and on. But I thought last night's episode we talked about last week. The first two were like, we gave episode 1 a pass for being kind of like the baseline episode. But episode 2 was very dull and very dry. And I thought last night was a positive step towards kind of what we would like to see more of, even if you're just not even a Bills fan. I thought it was more entertaining, more fun, and we got some cool, peeks behind the curtain in a couple of instances.
And this is going to kind of be like a good segue into tonight's episode. My favorite portion of that episode last night was when McDermott was screaming to his coaches, hey, if they're not doing their job, if they're not doing things right, get them off the field. He was obviously pissed at the way they were playing. And honestly, man, if I'm like thinking, after watching the film several times, after seeing that Hard Knocks episode, how the game ended and everything, and then hearing those comments, I find it difficult to not believe that was a D-line issue. I feel like if he was going to be saying that to any position group, I feel like it would be D-line, which again, I think is a perfect segue into the guys we're going to be talking about tonight in the film room, as we talked about TJ Sanders, Deone Walker, Landon Jackson and whatnot, because in the game against the Giants, we talked about each wave of the D-line and who started and whatnot. If you noticed, rather than being like the third defensive wave, interior defensive lineman of TJ Sanders and Deone Walker, they were pretty much some of the first few guys out there, as opposed to being Carter. It was Carter and Ogunjobi as a second wave last year. So, and then you saw Carter playing late into that game. So like when he made that comment, I was like, I assumed it was against the D-line, because he did also mention how both sides of the ball, when we're talking trenches, got their asses handed to them.
That was a big one for me too. Yeah, whoever that is, I don't know if it's quality control person or his assistant. He did something. We saw it kind of last week in the episode too. He almost like says notes out loud and then tells the guy to like write that down. And his verbiage last night was, yeah, like both sides of the line of scrimmage were getting outplayed, and he's like, circle that. And he tells that, that. And I mean, it was evident whether you watched it on the broadcast, whether you watched it on tape like we did. They lost in the trenches, and McDermott was pissed.
Yeah, John, my buddy John asks, "What's going on, fellas? Can't stay for the whole show, but one question is, do you believe in Babich and getting the most of this group? What are your thoughts on that?" I think obviously he's gone through some growing pains and some learning and some self-scouting. Like I said, I think we're gonna see how far he's come in those third down situations in the first quarter of this season against some of the teams we're gonna see. So I'm still in wait and see mode. I love him as a coach. If I was a player, if I was a coach that worked with him or under him, I would love to have that type of relationship because he sounds super smart and he's very convincing. And he's coached some of the better players at their positions in the league at different levels. So I do think he's knowledgeable. But again, trying to meld that knowledge off of paper and try to put it into a strategy and game plan and calling plays on game day are different things. And so again, it's a learning process. And I'm sure just like the players, he also learned a lot from last year.
I'm hopeful. It's, believing whether he'll get the most out of the group. For me, not even positively or negatively, we just don't have the sample size. He's got 1 year as a defensive coordinator. He has no real history or tradition in being in that role. We have to see, what do adjustments look like? What does he go forward with? I will say, tying into a point you made in earlier, I saw a lot of schematic things that made me hopeful when I was at camp. And I know you saw some as well. We have not seen those be put into action in the preseason, rightfully so. So that's the biggest thing I'm hopeful for. I think, and this might be, copium on my part, but I'm hopeful that Babich and McDermott, or either or both, recognize their shortcomings last year, and the additions that they made in this offseason were made to lean harder in specific directions, but also be able to tweak and combat the issues they had last year. And I'm very hopeful based on what I saw in camp. We haven't seen that in the preseason. So I'm thinking, okay, they're keeping it in the holster. They're going to wait until the regular season. And that's when I think it'll really come to fruition. I hope if they come out and essentially operate the way they did last year, I'll lose my mind. But I'm hopeful that they won't.
And it's tough because we're going to be reviewing some film that was god awful. So
not great.
There's no scheming going on, but I didn't like obviously how easily they were pushed around on both sides of the ball. That's goes without saying. But you could tell that these depth players, especially when you're talking about that, the second stringers for the Bills going up against the starters of the Bears, you could tell their processing was a half a click behind. Like the speed of the Bears, the crispness, the scheming. I will say, I think Ben Johnson, he had some zingers in there that this is preseason. You're running option routes and like these type of leverage reads.
Yeah, the little like the play action half boot, and then like the second tight end is delaying and circling back around the hash. It was very. There was more purpose.
Stuff.
Yeah, there was more purpose and intention to what they were doing. Not to give the Bills a pass, but I think that also makes sense for the Bears. New staff, you're trying to figure everything out. You're trying to maybe ramp up a little bit more.
Get off on the right foot, right?
Yeah.
I totally. Obviously, both teams are in different areas when you're talking about building a team and foundation, but they got pushed back. They couldn't disengage from blocks. They couldn't create any displacement on offense. Communication was awful, especially if you're talking the second level of the defense and even the third level. I thought the communication was so bad. You didn't see as many like the week before. You didn't see as often guys, pointing things out. Hey, there's motion, and then all the adjustments. You didn't see that leadership when it came to the stuff that you could see when we're watching film, the physical stuff, the pointing, the slices were awful this game as opposed to last week. I mean, allowing pass plays over 20 yards is a big no-no in this defense. And 3 of those went over 25 yards. And so that was disappointing to see. But overall, when it comes to the team itself, I will take them resting their starters like they did. And sometimes taking it on a chin like that when you're talking about Ben Johnson, his offense, and some of the skilled players they were rolling out there. It sucks the way, the taste that we have as fans now in our mouth from that game. But keep it in perspective. You want everyone healthy, and you want to get through the preseason. You want to get through the offseason and training camp into week 1 with everyone healthy.
Exactly. Even if this type of loss happened early in the regular season, it's one game. Let's see how they adjust. It would be worse, but let's see how they adjust. But even more so in the preseason, yeah, all the context you added, not really playing the starters, the Bears operating with a bit more intention. Cool to see. I saw it briefly before we went live, like Tyson Bagent got rewarded with a contract extension.
Yeah.
So maybe shout out to the Bills defense for helping him get that. He was super emotional at the podium. He had a couple dots in this game, so shout out to him.
He was a baller.
For him. Yeah,
he was a baller. He was fun to watch, man.
He was.
You could see that speed, right? You could, yes, exactly. And you could see that play speed. Like, he was locked in, as opposed to like a lot of the Bills defenders. They weren't locked in. Like, Bagent was just clicking, and he was doing everything right.
This comment from Josh in the comments, he says Ben Johnson was calling plays like a guy whose girlfriend is watching him play pickup basketball and going way too hard. That's fair.
That is spot on, man. Spot on. And it's funny because I went back and it's something we saw a bunch in this game when we're talking Bears offense versus the Bills defense. Crack blocks and the lack of crack replaces. There were like several plays where the wide receiver in a tight split would push crack to the safety, take him out, and then the corner would delay and not come down and replace him. Crack replace. It's something we talk about all the time.
And you know who a lot of it was? Dorian Strong, who you and I talked about during the scrimmage of just even his fits off a duo and that crack replace. And that continues to be a struggle for him. But yeah, it was a theme overall. Great call.
And it's funny because right before we went live, I watched some cut-ups I did of Bishop his entire season last year and how he was coming down and filling, kind of like Hancock. He was coming down. Sometimes he had his peripheral of the receiver coming, and he would use, and it was against the Lions where he did it perfectly several times. And so it was not surprising to see Ben Johnson use that over and over again in this game against the Bills.
Yeah, he spammed the hell out of it like a guy whose girlfriend is watching him play pickup basketball. I like that. Oh, real quick, somebody in the chat, we have not spoken about the Zaya Alexander signing yet. I went back to my Twitter and retweeted some stuff that I posted. I didn't realize the Bills had signed Zaya Alexander, who I think you were a fan of from LSU a little bit.
Aaron Quinn, AQ, actually. He sometimes, again, we watch so much film and we cover this team, everyone at Cover One. You just have a feeling sometimes. You see a player and you're just like for me, like with TJ Sanders. He's a Buffalo Bill. When Daquan was coming as a free agent, I was like, we all have these just like feelings and guts, and like we trust our eyes. We're like, he's a Buffalo Bill. And Aaron was one of the first guys that I know from Cover One to say like, hey, Zai, you gotta watch him. You gotta watch him. And I kind of just kept pushing him off because I was like, dude, I only have so much time. I can't watch a possible fringe draft player, you know?
Yeah, UDFA.
But he did, of course, because he loves that adequate cornerback play, and he loved him. He has a lot of that like Billsy DNA and traits, and did a lot of stuff from off coverage, kind of Levi Wallace type developmental player. So when he was signed immediately, I had to give kudos to AQ.
Yeah. So Eric and I were talking about this offline. I had a bitch of a day. I have not been on any social media in any way, shape, or form. So I saw that in the comments and I was like, oh, and I Googled it and it was like happened 5 hours ago. So that was cool. Little fun, little nugget. Eric, should we dive into the film?
Let's go, man. We got 22 clips, guys. Grab your beverages, hit the bathroom now. We have a lot of film, and we're going to talk about with a guy who we obviously love in TJ Sanders. And I will say, I think we both said something along the lines early in this game that TJ Sanders and the young interior defensive lineman in this game were getting driven off the ball, and you can see it here. And this is what I love about all the clips we've pulled for this. You're going to see these young defensive linemen take on different types of blocks. And I want you to pay attention to what we call the blocks and how many guys are blocking him, whether it's a combo block, double team, solo block, base block. Pay attention to those type of things, because these are the things that the defensive linemen and Sanders and Walker have to process in a click in a really short amount of time on what type of block they're going to see. So on this one, the Bears are running a gap run, backside puller in power, and you see what we call a deuce block on the front side of this play, and they do a good job of displacing him, getting him off the line of scrimmage. But honestly, Andreessen and Dorian Williams do a great job of scraping and getting off of blocks to kind of save this play. So while Sanders was driven off the ball 3 yards or more, Andreessen does a great job of scraping over the top, staying away from the right tackle and helping make the tackle after a minimal gain on this play. But as you can see, Sanders is getting wiped out at the point of attack, and it's a big no-no. But for the most part, he did what he could to occupy those 2 blockers.
Yeah, and if you kind of think about it, like not to be homers, like in a way, he kept Andreessen free and allowed him to make the play. And I think this is also a good example too of
linebacker DT.
Yes, like it's funny, yeah.
I know you're going
there. The idea of kind of the linebackers making them right and playing off of it, and Sanders gets blown off. One of my biggest takeaways too is like Darnell Wright should have peeled. I get it, you're like working the hell out of Sanders, but he's displaced. Peel off, exactly. 58. Your eyes are on Andreessen. Sanders is displaced. Get onto that man. It's a good play by Andreessen to recognize and stay detached, but Wright almost just kind of like flails at him and reaches. That should have been prime displaced. Move off earlier. Get to Andreessen. He doesn't. It allows Andreessen to kind of fill into that spot, which is nice. And also, you called out Dorian. I like Dorian. You can see he attacks like through the outside shoulder of 84 to play into that gap. But look at where his eyes are. Look at where his head is. He and Andreessen converge. So again, and I highlighting in a negative way, Sanders getting blown off the ball, which is a potential concern for him, but a nice fit off of that by Andreessen and Dorian. And I think a good example of something we talk about a bunch in this show. You can have guys that can make you right even when you're wrong. And this is a good job by the second level, making up for what happened up front to Sanders, and a little bit on Darnell Wright, the Bears right tackle, for not really executing how he should have and could have.
Right. Good leverage on the front side of this play. A lot of times when the linebacker scrapes too quickly over the top, a lot of times what the running back is going to do is kind of cut back right here.
Yep.
So kudos to Deone Walker on this play at stacking and staying home on that play on the backside to kind of funnel the running back to the front side, not allowing a backside cut on this power. So pretty good work on this play overall. But like I said, you see a little displacement by Sanders, but overall, good job of just enveloping those blocks, absorbing it, and then the relationship of linebacker and DT of Andreessen getting over the top.
You see that movement on that play, and you would think, oh, man, this probably went for at least 5 yards. It only went for a 3-yard gain.
3 yards.
Which is crazy good.
All right, so Sanders and Walker again on this play. So 3 tech. Sanders is at 3 tech outside shoulder of the guard. Get a tight shade by Walker over the center. And this one, you're going to see Sanders just get washed out again. He's trying to drop that knee, but with duo here, everyone's obviously getting caved down. And so he gets washed out. Decent stack and shed by Walker on the center and using his eyes and putting himself in the backfield. And you can see there is some movement right there on him as he's kind of tracking the ball. But he does help make the tackle right there. But there's a decent gain on this run. This is duo. It's an ugly physical downhill run. But really good work on by the guard and backup tackle of washing Sanders down. But again, they didn't allow the running back to get out the back door. But you're seeing some movement, and this is what we're watching on the broadcast. And so you're watching it from the side angle. You're like, holy crap, those boys are getting displaced. But for the most part, it was minimal. But these are things, again, the different types of blocks. You saw a power, a gap block, or a gap run on that first play. This is power without a puller. So they're blocking down. It's a gap type run. But you're seeing, obviously, now a different type of run and obviously a track by the running back, but still those down blocks at the point of attack, and Sanders gets wiped out on this play.
Yeah, it's almost like karma for all the duo runs the Bills have had success on their side of the ball over the years. I also like the little wrinkle that the Bears had in this one. 87, Luther Burden did it a bunch of the low red zone. I like the little short motion and almost kind of like slingshotting him into the insert to pick up the safety. I like that. I thought that was a nice touch. But yeah, I don't have too much to add on this one. Like this is one of my bigger areas of concern for the year, like going with, guys like Ogunjobi and Sanders, ideally in your top 4 rotation. Your pass rush and your inside juice have been increased significantly versus what they were last year. But there is a chance that you will suffer a bit against double teams and displacement. Okay, the offense is being able to reset the line of scrimmage. You will see that potentially. It's just a matter of the give and take and how much the success in other areas mitigates that. And yeah, there were, to lead off with a couple rough reps here. This one, Sanders and then Dorian's fit off of it, just a huge gap to run through. Yeah. And I don't know why Dorian I mean, I get it, but I don't know why he flies out the front door.
I'm confused
much.
altogether.
I watched it so much. I didn't understand a lot of this run fit. I was confused as well.
I'm confused from the jump, from the alignment. Okay, 2 high safeties, right? I mean, they're not super deep, but they're 2 high safeties. Look at this bubble right here. That I don't understand. I don't understand why Andreessen's not bumped over here. And like, as the ball snapped, I don't know if they're trying to rotate in and slide these guys right at the snap, but there's a huge bubble over the middle. And so Sanders, I thought he did a good job of stacking and getting his eyes in the backfield.
Look at all the space he has to, for both sides, even if he was like 2 gap in there, like look at all the space he has to try and do for both gaps.
So, I mean, if the running back paced this a little better, I think the bubble's right here.
Yes, the cutback, yeah.
Because, like, you can see Walker gets reached. But I thought Sanders did a great job on this plays, playing with a good pad level, stacking eyes in the backfield. But he just wasn't able to disengage from that guy when he won it early in this rep. And then, like you said, you have Dorian. I don't know why. You have Solomon taking on these two. I don't know why he's flying over the top. But it would make sense, I guess, gap wise, but I just, and then you have a push crack from the receiver on Hamlin, and you're getting a late replace from Dane Jackson. But even Hamlin, listen, I can't defend him in this game. He was awful. So look at this. There's no aggressiveness right here. You see him you're supposed to come down hard.
And that's my question. Like, if Dorian is purposefully taking that outside track, I would expect Hamlin to fill that gap with urgency. Exactly. Yes. But it looks like he's almost not, which makes me think, did Dorian screw up and Hamlin wasn't expecting that? Or is Hamlin just not operating with urgency?
I'm pretty sure you see Dane Jackson pissed off. I feel like Hamlin was supposed to fill with urgency, and because he obviously replaced Hamlin there to make the tackle. See, and he's looking back. I thought it was on Hamlin.
And Hamlin's looking at Dane, like almost like you can look at the body language, like Hamlin's looking like Dane is talking to him right there.
He looks up. You see him shake his head like he acknowledges Dane's disdain right there. Dane's disdain.
That's what this episode should be entitled. Yeah, but this, in a multitude of ways, these run fits were on that play, like all kind of. There were a couple times where the fits from the second and third level in this game pissed me off. Like there was some, there was some good work up front, but the second level would screw it up, and then we had reps where the first level is getting displaced horizontally or vertically. Yeah, real frustrating from a run fit perspective in this one.
So here's Sanders, play side again, getting washed or giving a lot of ground up. Again, now you're having more of it's a quick combination block. So essentially you see the 2 guys that I have outlined are working first level to second level. So they're blocking Sanders, working to Andreessen. But because Andreessen is stacked, this left tackle, he can't hang heavy on this block. So a lot of times they'll just punch out with the inside hand, try to hit the outside shoulder of Sanders to feed him to the guard, and then quickly get to Andreessen, because you see Andreessen gets there quickly. And so you see Sanders kind of get bumped over just enough where that guard is able to essentially work his helmet to the play side there, but Sanders can't anchor. He's giving up so much ground on this play. His hands are out, his eyes are in the backfield, but he's not able to anchor at the same time and do that stuff together. And luckily that you have Hoyt coming from the backside, scraping down line of scrimmage, not having to worry about this boot out because they have a backside contained player in Hancock. So again, if Hoyt doesn't make this play, this is a big run by the running back.
Yeah, this is a catch-22 here. Great play from Hoyt. You can see him change his pace a little bit once he sees that ball is handed off, and he works his way down the line. So great read, good eyes, good urgency, and then follow through on the tackle. But yeah, that, again, displacement. Guys being moved, the line of scrimmage being reset, and just you can see that from the interior, like Walker being taken a bit downfield. He tries to spin out of it. But Sanders,
we got to talk about that because you're going to see this in some of Walker's film. And so, yes, displacement at the point of attack, right, on Sanders. Yeah. But they're working also to that second level. And so it's the same type of thing. he's got to get out quickly because Dorian is basically in plus territory over the top of Walker. And so right off the bat, you see the punch by the center, and it gets just enough of Walker so that the play side, the helmet can get to the play side. And then once you get under him and once you win leverage on Walker, that boy's pad level easily gets popped up, and you're able to create that displacement where you're going to see him do a spin move, which is going to create issues once the season starts. Not playing with your hands. It's one thing to be quick off the ball, win quickly in your gap, and maybe get reach or maybe get washed down to kind of force the cutback. It's another to do something like that and spin out of it, because as soon as you spin out of it, where do you think they're going to cut most of the time? Right inside of you.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to make that spin in the gap and make a play out of it. Yeah. They're going to, if anything, he's going to cut exactly right off the butt of 65. So Walker spinning outside. Yeah. He was trying. And Hoyt is the one who kind of shut it down. And maybe Dorian sheds and makes that play. What annoys me too with the point of contact here with Walker is, I know the center goes for that punch and that feed. He barely, if at all, makes contact with Walker. And based on Walker's initial pre-snap alignment, that's a somewhat hard reach block for that right guard to cross his face and turn and win inside leverage. It's just slow off the ball from Walker. I don't know if he was still trying to get
your
set.
hands, for God's
sake. Like it's slow off the ball. You're not taking advantage of the hands and the length that you have. Like, just, you got to swing that body, use your hands. Or if you're feeling that momentum, right? If 65 has reached you like that, take your outside hand, Walker's left, chuck him inside, cut that back thing off. Like, it's just, you can't allow to get reached.
Working play side.
Yeah. Like, he just lets 65 cross his face, get into his chest. And then the response of the spin out of it, very much less than ideal. So it ends up being a good play from Hoyt, but they just get people moved on the interior.
Yeah, you'd like for him to work his way across the face. Maybe you don't get completely across the face of that blocker, but you want to force a cutback. You're 111th, this helmet in this hole, working down the line of scrimmage, forcing that cutback, which is why they have the fold player and Hoyt and Hancock on the backside of that to fill those gaps on the backside of this run. They want to force these zone runs all the way back, because that means that running back is holding on to the ball behind the line of scrimmage, not pressing the line of scrimmage. Luckily, Hoyt was there to make that play. But let's get into some of the good stuff. All right. I know we kind of hammered them early. Let's get into a couple of good plays from Sanders, and then we'll move on to Walker. A really nice run blitz on this play. And so you're going to see Sanders in that 3-tech outside shoulder of the guard work immediately. His strength quickly across the face, laterally. What are these guys doing? They're working across the face, inside gap, sending the safety off the edge on the run blitz. And you see that really pin the running back in, really give him no options or avenues to break this play. But again, the quickness by Landon Jackson at edge, also TJ Sanders inside to get across the face of their blockers to disrupt the blocking scheme of this duo run, really put several Bills defenders in the backfield and disrupted this play.
Yeah, and what's nice to see on this one, too, this is the Bears ones. So that is TJ Sanders working across the face of 73, which is Jonah Jackson, pretty good guard in this league and part of the remade Bears interior. I like how he's able to not only cross Jackson's face and get upfield, but then that ability to turn and flatten. He doesn't get widened. He doesn't get pushed upfield. He turns and flattens and gets down the line.
And the other little detail about this, when you're playing against the run, you're always taught to not go deeper, usually of the 2 yards, heels of the offensive lineman. And so you see he has that quickness to win across the face. But then, yes, like you said, the athleticism to put his foot in the ground 2 yards deep and work back down the line of scrimmage, chasing the ball carrier down. Man, this is the type of stuff that when we watch his film coming out, these are the things he did at South Carolina, but also stuff that we're like, dude, when we're talking translating to Babich's defense, McDermott's defense, these run blitzes, these run stunts, like this is his bread and butter. This is where he will make tremendous impact for the Bills defense when it comes to stopping the run.
Yeah, and this is the way, like, when with them leaning into like Ogunjobi and Sanders on the interior and knowing that they have Ed and Daquan there, like this is the way I think they're really going to win inside against the run. It's taking advantage of that quickness and these slants, these stunts, these run blitzes, however you want to verbalize it, because like we showed a little bit, you don't want TJ Sanders right now just purely trying to take on double teams. Like you don't want him trying to anchor or drop in the knee. Like let him win with quickness, And this is nice, slanting the front. We see the penetration from Jackson and Sanders. And I know DeMar misses the tackle, but this funnels perfectly to DeMar. Granted, he gets a little bit of a crack from Roma Dunze, number 15 there, pushes him a little on the back. Maybe it influences, but this run gets blown up because of the run blitz and the action up front. And then, great job from Sanders working down the line and kind of clotheslining the running back a little bit. Even Dane Jackson forces that thing back inside. That's a nice design, and it's good execution.
And these two together, I love watching Walker and Sanders together this preseason. So I want you to watch this play and how Sanders essentially replaces Deone Walker there.
It's almost like it's on purpose, like a purposeful little game.
It's a beautiful read. You're not just going to stick when the run stays out to the play side, to the right side of the screen there. You can see them really trying to work Deone Walker there. And even so much so, you basically have three guys that had to get a piece of Walker. And Walker's heads down. He's really not going to be a factor in this play, but he did enough that everyone can now get to the ball. And you see just a heady play from TJ Sanders of working over the top, kind of replacing Deone Walker, realizing, hey, Walker got pinned down. Now I got to work over the top to flow to the ball. He does a great job of that. And he's right there in the hole to meet the running back.
And, shout out to the edge being kept a little bit there by Michael Hoyt. Forces that thing back inside. And not to flame him any more than anybody has, but look at the fit from Herndon, the safety 38, the urgency he comes forward with. If we're kind of juxtaposing that with Hamlin's fit from earlier, look at the impact it has. Yep, with a forceful crack coming, and Herndon gets cracked. But at the end of the day, his urgency coming down in this fit is what makes 38 put his right foot in the ground and looks to cut back off of 63 and go inside. And that's what leads him to Sanders. So a nice coordinated dance in the fit, good effort from Sanders and Reed. And then a little shout out to Herndon for replacing that with urgency, tying it in with Hoyt. I love these plays that really show, like, to highlight one person making the play, you have to highlight the other dominoes that led to it. Yeah, run fits are so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're attacking that weak side bubble. This is what the Bills do when they run a lot of their zone plays, mid zone, wide zone.
That B gap bubble.
Yep, and so you're trying to attack that B gap bubble. And yes, Walker again, he took one for the team, took three for the team, essentially. But you see, everyone does those little details. Everyone does their 111th, and Sanders is there to quickly replace Walker over the top. Yeah, now, enough with run fits. Let's talk a couple pass rush moves from Sanders. I thought he did a great job in this game of not just using that double-handed swipe or scissors move, but doing a good job of using speed to power. So you started to see a little more of his pass rush arsenal. And so on this play, I want you to watch him from that wide alignment just inside the right tackle. And you're going to see there's that nice swipe and that lateral quickness on that play, a little arm over. And now the ball is out because Babich, again, was balling. But that's a quick win. And again, I think he's going to have a lot of these quick wins. And we talked about the quick game of opposing offenses against the Bills defense. I think if they were playing really soft in this game in coverage. They were playing really soft. The ball was out pretty quickly. There was nothing exotic in coverage and rotations. And so the ball was easily out here with inside leverage on Dorian Strong. But that was a quick win, speed win on this play from Sanders.
Yeah, again, another example of the agility, the explosion, that lateral ability he has is going to win him so many battles from a pass rush standpoint, but even from a run standpoint, like we showed, like his ability to go from gap to gap almost instantaneously and then bear down, again, good play by Babich. Oh, no pun intended on the bear down there. But yeah, he's had some really nice wins to start out the preseason in this pass rush capacity. And again, that wider alignment, I think, helps, kind of puts him on an island a little bit with the guard. He's probably
especially to the running back side, that is usually what the man side. This guy's actually a dual read. So he's watching Dorian up in the line of scrimmage, but as Dorian peels out, now you see that guard go ahead and pick up Sanders. So they're basically doing a dual read with the guard, and it looks like they're just isolated out here. Or maybe not even with a chip, but I mean, it's a tough play for the guard, but these are the type of things that, Babich and his staff can scheme up to attack. Hey, this is the man side of the protection. This is the dual read side of the protection. Put that guy in a bind. Put that guard in a bind by putting TJ Sanders in a wide alignment and really allow him to attack the quarterback.
And look at 65 on the snap. Like, his eyes are on Dorian as he's looking bang right at Dorian. And then as his eyes transition, because he's like, okay, Dorian's going outside.
He's behind. He's trying to get out wide,
Exactly.
right?
And he tries to meet and he oversets a little bit potentially. And Sanders takes advantage and puts his foot in the ground and bang, catches him leaning too far over his feet and bang, gets him inside immediately.
Sucks. It sucks they completed that. But
I
again,
know
there's
so
flashes,
many,
right?
dude.
These are the flashes. You
that's
gotta,
the ones.
Though, like, even it's not a results driven type. Preseason is not results driven.
Exactly.
It's the evaluation of these players. It's the flashes, as we put in the title of this show, the growing pains. You've seen some of them against the run. You've seen him win against the run in TJ Sanders. But these flashes of pass rush moves for him, that's what we're saying. They've given Babich the personnel to do some things. Now they just got to add some of the scheme to put the stress on the offensive line and allow the staff to attack and allow TJ Sanders to attack offensive lines and offensive players.
Yes. And exactly in the preseason, especially the process piece being so important. Again, not to be corny or like homers about it, but you want to see guys engaged in sound process. And with things like that, that's a great play by Babich. Somebody got open, ball was completed. Odds are, if you have guys up front that continue to win in about 2 seconds, more often than not, it's going to be a negative play in some form or fashion for the offense, even if it's just an incompletion. So these little nuggets aren't just like, trying to find a silver lining. They're actual positive pieces and elements that matter. This one I liked. It's not just pure agility. It's not just penetration. It's going through a guy with some pop and violence in the hands and that long arm. And look at 74 he's trying to hop and reset and anchor, and he just cannot.
And I'm with you. Wide alignment, and watch the left guard. He plays with wide hands. Outside hands are outside the frame. That allows after the little hezzy rush.
Yep.
See, there's a little hesitation off the snap.
Like about to drive the paint. Is he
going to stay in the B gap, or is he going to just dart inside to the A gap? So you see that little hesitation. He kind of comes down the line, right down the center of that left guard. And with the wide hands, he realizes, okay, I'm seeing the drop, and now I can just transition speed to power, long arm right down the center of that guard. And he just opens him up and disrupts that play. I love the speed to power move by Sanders on this play.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. So much of his wins, we show like the swipe, with his hands or going from gap to gap. If he can consistently go through guys and translate more of that explosion to not just being lateral and being able to go through people, man, like goodness gracious, what he could be.
Again, look at the side of the protection he's on. He's on the man side. It's one-on-one. Walker's eating up 2 blocks right here because of the defensive formation they brought out. And so, again, getting him in these situations that you can get him one-on-ones, he's going to create so much disruption to opposing offenses, man. I'm so excited about
especially once he gets into a spot where he is more like in the rotation and you have him there in the third quarter and the fourth quarter where he's fresher and the offensive line or not. Like, that's a real nice piece to have inside.
Yep. All right, let's move on to Walker. And so some little details prior to this play. So you see 2 tight ends off the right side of the screen. Well, they motion. I want you to watch the tight shade initially on the center right here by Walker, but the motion and the balanced formation, because the tight end goes across, they move him into, I think Lorenzo called it a gong technique. So now it's a G front. So he's the inside shoulder of that guard. So now you can see his whole posture is completely different right here. So what the Bears are trying to do, they're trying to work a combination block, guard and center, to Andreessen, the linebacker. And so now you have Walker playing more into that guard. And, with a balanced formation, that's kind of a game plan thing where, like, hey, if the 2 tight ends were to the same side, then you're going to have him playing a tighter shade. But because of the formation, now they're running mid-zone to right at Walker. And I thought Walker did a great job here of playing into that guard and holding him up and with good pad level too. You see him down there, those hips are down. But for some reason, the angle by Joe, normally he'll take this right here, right? And then go get the running back. For some reason, he plays it really tight to the guard. And so the work by Deone Walker on this play, you can even see the hand right here. The work by him is really just for naught because Joe gets caught up in traffic when he left a really nice runway for Joe to go make a play in the backfield on this.
Yeah, this one pissed me off. A lot of plays in this game pissed me off, but like you said, Andreessen is usually very good at fitting the run. I don't know why he cuts it not only tight to 74, into him. Like, he goes
Yeah.
into 74's chest. Like,
Covered
there's
himself
no,
up.
yeah, you asked to get snatched. I don't know why. Take that angle, shoot that thing, cut that thing off, because if you do, you're either going to make the play or 38's going to have to cut back into Deone Walker, who has leverage on the center because of his initial alignment. Like you said, they switch over to that G front, which means Deone Walker is in a 2-eye. He's got leverage advantage against the center who can't reach him. You've got those two gaps fit up between Walker and Andreessen if he does it correctly. And then even on the another crack replace aspect, we're not getting the proper fit from the CB outside. Strong gets caught peeking in the side a little bit on Scott coming in. 38's able to get the corner instead. Even with Andreessen screwing up, Strong should be right there to kind of meet on the outside of 88 and force that back. So it's unfortunate that on a rep where I was like, is Walker going to drop the knee? Oh, who cares? He's still playing with some leverage. Look at that.
Right.
The rest of the fits kind of let him down, which again is symptomatic of what we saw a lot in this game. The disconnect in the run fit between the first and second level.
So now you have both tight ends to the right side of the screen here. It's a strong formation to the defense's left. And so you have that tight shade alignment from Deone Walker. So the guard and the center are working combination block to Dorian Williams. And you see the center, once again, he's got to get out. He's got to get out. Really nice punch on Deone Walker. I don't know if Deone's trying to do an arm over or swim it, but he gets completely turned, which is a big no-no, because then you see what? Those pads pop straight up. All right. And so he gets reached. He can't stay in his gap right here. He's completely turned. And then you get the cutback right off his butt. And again, this one is not a good one by Walker. The thing with Walker is when he's a backside, nose tackle on these kind of plays, he's got to keep his pads down. Like when Jordan Phillips, I always compare him to Jordan Phillips because of their body types and how they win with the quickness off the snap. Like, okay, you get punched there, but just get into your gap. All right. Get in your gap and get your pads down. Because like you said on the other play, get in your gap, chase the ball, force that cutback. But you got to be able to play with your eyes. You got to play with your hands. Like, where are they right now? You can't even see him. He's not even looking at the ball. It was pretty bad.
He's literally looking to the sideline because he got completely turned horizontal. Like, he's moving horizontally. And yeah, great punch from 71. We talked about it a couple, plays ago, like didn't really get a punch on Walker that time, and 65 was able to reach him. This is just a good punch from the center, and you can see how it completely turns Walker's shoulders. And with his body type, if he starts to lose initially, it's so hard for him to recover because he doesn't have all this. He's a rigid type of player, and he's tall, so he doesn't have this, let me, drop and sink a little bit and anchor. And then that impacts Dorian Williams, who's trying to fit off of him. And exactly to your point, if Walker could have gotten across there initially, Dorian can just fit right off of him, kind of like what Dorian still does. But because of the space and Dorian having to take on the block, he's unable to make the tackle, and it creates a negative domino.
Look where he starts on the hash, and then where the cutback is, where he's on the other hash. Look at that movement that the Bears created based on this formation and movement they got on Walker. And the other thing that pissed me off on this play, again, we talk about 111, was freaking AJ Epinesa. Get over the top here.
Oh, that's a great him and Hancock especially. Yeah, him and Hancock play the same friggin' gap. Like if AJ gets across, that's also the backside fill in that B gap.
Yep.
Great call. Yep.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Like, where is the aggression here by AJ? Like, what are you doing here? Get over the top. Where's that burst? You have that safety coming off the edge. You got to do everything to work across and down the line of scrimmage. So again, it makes to that backside cut. Maybe Hancock, maybe Epinesa's right here, and this running back has to cut it all the way back, and then you have Hancock. But it was just awful. There was no aggression. There was no juice, and you saw it at every level in this game from the Bills defense. And so here's another one. This is a good one though. And we talked about that. We talked about the different alignments. We talked about the different blocks these guys are seeing. It's all good. Even the mistakes, you heard Babich talk about it all the time in his pressers. Mistakes, that's the best way to learn. And so this is a good time. This is a good learning experiment. But this is a play, again, it kind of likens back to Jordan Phillips. And he would always see these back blocks by offensive linemen when teams wanted to run these gap, counter trade type runs. And you see Deone Walker read this from a mile away. Left guard's back blocking on him. He swims that quickly, and that disrupts the entire blocking scheme. He gets a piece of the left tackle. Everything's muddied up. Now everyone's running to the ball, and he's there to make the tackle. This was fantastic stuff from Walker on this gap run.
Yeah, this was so pretty. Bears run GY counter, and Walker just beats that down block immediately. Swims it quick. 79, the left tackle, he's trying to make his way to Dorian Williams. He can't because, like you said, Walker impacts him, gums up the whole works inside, and then you get the Fitz over the top. Shout out to AJ Epinesa on this one. He wrong arms the guard, bangs him a little bit. Not the best, but does the job.
Muddies it up. Yeah.
Yep, muddies it up. Andreessen takes outside. Dorian Fitz outside. And then, you get down Deone Walker, who, because he beat the left guard, and then the left tackle is still trying to pick up Dorian because that's his man. Yeah. Walker becomes free, meets 38 in the hole, and makes a nice play. Yeah, it was nice that this one started with Walker and ended with Walker. So he was rewarded for kind of gumming it up in the first place, and then he gets the nice stop too.
So quick, man. It just bang how he swims that. Again, that reading, that processing.
Yeah, and he sees it. You can see him see it. Like he's looking at 71. 71 moves, and watch Walker immediately get his eyes to 74 because he sees the flash from the center and knows, here comes the down block, bang, and swims it. Like, that's good processing. That's good.
Yeah, and again, look where his eyes are. There's kind of right in this A gap, right? And he sees the footwork and body posture of that center go back. Yep. And so he's like, all right, well, if he's leaving, who's coming after me, and he immediately reads it, and you see that reactive athleticism to swim it, and then, again, just gum everything up the middle. That is what he needs to continuously do, especially if we're talking Ravens week 1, man. Those boys are going to be bringing their gap runs, those powers, those counter trays. They're going to be bringing it. And so that type of quickness is going to be awesome to see right out of the gate from Walker.
Yeah, the Ravens, they're a unicorn of an offense, and they're they are a juggernaut, and they're going to look to people move and set the tone. The Bills are going to have to answer the running the football bell early and often to start the season. So these kind of flashes are nice.
All right, so here's a bad one. This is rough, man. Okay, so single block on Walker here. Backside guard and tackle are working. First level, the 2, Andreessen. Just watch Walker on this play. Okay, I like his pad level. I like his eyes are in the backfield. But as you can see at this point, just how everything's unfolding, Andreessen has this gap. So get your eyes out of this gap. You got to be worried about here. And so maybe he's trying to bait him. Maybe he's trying to bait him to see, there's 2 helmets. The running back sees 2 helmets in this gap. I'm going to hit this. So then Walker, as soon as that guy commits, the running back, maybe he disengages, make the tackle. But he does something completely different instead. Instead of, again, getting his helmet across and disengaging to make the tackle, he tries throwing him by. And so then he's out of the play. Now that guy's moving on, and the Hancock luckily saves a tackle in the hole from the end zone. You can see him come down from the end zone. I don't know why Walker essentially was playing in the wrong gap. He was playing the same gap as Andreessen here. If he's on this side, he's making the play here against the running back.
Yeah. This is really annoying. I also just realized 71 is Ryan Bates. So shout out to Bills legend Ryan Bates. Yeah, crazy though. I forgot we traded him there. I was like, this guy moves so familiar, and I'm like, it's Ryan Bates. This one I don't. There's even if initially he's like, okay, I'm supposed to be in this gap. Even if he thinks he's supposed to be to the to the left of the center, but to the right from this angle. Yeah, you play devil's advocate and say maybe he's baiting it, but you see what's happening here. Get off that. Yeah. Get into the other gap. I don't know why he even honors it and then stays in it further. And then, he shed Bates. Yeah. And stays inside. And then Bates is almost
he sealed himself off.
That's exactly it. He sealed himself off. And I feel like Bates was like, oh, this is a freebie. Now I can move on to someone else. Like that almost, we just showed the play prior. Great processing. You see the center moves, get your eyes to the guard, beat the down block, bang. This one, I don't understand, like from start to finish, and then just to shed it and seal yourself. Exactly. There's the question mark. The Riddler is in that A gap. I don't understand. And you see the fits from everyone else, right? Crossing fitting. If Walker is there, where is 38 cutting into? Because there's a body and a hat in each gap. Guys are muddied things up elsewhere. And it's, this one's annoying, man.
Yeah, it was rough. There's some flashes, but there's some struggles as well from Walker and TJ Sanders for that matter. So this is where, much like TJ Sanders, you're going to see a lot of wins, a lot of success, wide alignment, pass rushing, violence on this play as from a wide alignment by Deone Walker on that play. You can see just creating havoc from that wide alignment, just violent hands by him, attacking outside, hezzy rush, and then dives inside, wins against the guard, blows up the running back trying to release. There's just chaos happening in front of Babich. And you see Babich essentially tuck rule it, and just all thanks to Deone Walker. I'm excited to see this type of stuff, as the season begins from Walker, because he can, when he shows that violence and he shows that aggression, man, he can be a very tough block.
The further he gets, away from the center, the wider he gets. We talked about it, like his best tape at Kentucky, like him in these wide alignments. And this one's so funny to me because the running back is totally just like, all right, cool, let me release. And then gets popped. And then Dorian drops the running back right before he gets to the 40. That would just get to me. But I don't have too much to add. Walker just causes chaos. I like the movement. Yes, like creating almost two-way go for yourself. Bang. Almost like what Zacchaeus did to Cole Bishop when they were playing cover one for that first touchdown for the Bears there. Creates the two-way go. And then it's not only creating it, obviously this is obvious, but it's crazy to have that type of movement at that size to create a two-way go and take advantage of it. And he does. Beat 74 inside, mucks up the release of the running back. And then because he mucks that up, 74 trips on the chaos and just gets buried. And then it's very much just like a bear running through a campsite. Like that's what you get on this one.
Grizzly bear.
And that's what you want him to be. Use those arms, use those paws, be huge and athletic, and take advantage of that skill set. And these are back-to-back weeks. We saw it with a flash against the Giants. We see it a flash here against the Bears. It's nice to see him kind of being effective in this type of role.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. And so we're going to move on to little Landon Jackson. He was a guy that Bills fans, after week 1 of the preseason, it was almost like he's already a bust, right?
There was a lot, but you know what's funny too? There was a lot in this one too. Doing the post-game show, a lot of people were like, man, Landon Jackson sucks. And so I take it with a grain of salt, but I was surprised that so many people thought he did absolutely nothing in this game. And then I watched the tape and I was like, there was like 3 or 4 really good rushes in this game. And I don't know how they went so unnoticed.
Yeah. And again, I think the broadcast stuff, it's tough to watch it from the broadcast when you're talking angles and these wide alignments by Landon Jackson. So let's get into some of this. I thought his ability to change the speed of his rushes, but also the line to set up his pass rush moves. Although he wasn't able to finish, he finished with 5 pressures, which again, that's a win after getting 1 in the first week. But look at how he attacks from out wide. He attacks down the center line. Nice kick slide by that left tackle. And so he kind of stabs inside right there. That gets that offensive lineman to stop his feet. They're outside his frame. More importantly, he starts to punch out those hands, and then you see the hand usage. We talked about his cross chop. He's got some decent pass rush moves that, he kind of developed in college. And so we got to see it in this game, but he put it together, not just with the hand usage with the cross chop, but changing the pace, changing that line at the quarterback to win the edge, whether you're talking outside or inside.
Yeah, like you said, like the angle that he takes right at 79 off that snap and sees the set, attacks him head on. And then we get that little stab inside that almost that Euro step transition, and great timing between the feet and the hands and the precision of the hands. We get that cross chop. He crosses over with his left arm, clubs, and is able to pull himself through, forces Babich to step up. Yeah. That was a really nice piece from him, and it should have led to some positives. We had a great pass off between Joe Andreessen and Dane Jackson. Dane is barreling down on Babich. This should have been an incompletion or a sack or some kind of something. I think Dane is able to keep up with Babich and tackle him short or make a play. But like you and I talked about on Twitter when this happened, Andreessen, like a cat with a laser pointer, just saw Babich step up and was like, oh, let me step up. And there's a guy wide open in the back. And I think this is one, too, people will see and be like, Jackson didn't do anything. Like quarterback stepped up, made a play, but that's a win for Jackson. That's good hand usage, good movement. Yep, exactly.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was thinking Dane Jackson. But again, this is a high leverage play, a high leverage situation. 4th and 3 on this play. Very good communication from Andreessen. He was struggling in this game. He calls out, he overtakes it. Dane Jackson falls off, and now he replaces him. And so, yes, he's the contained player as Bagent leaves the pocket. Andreessen needs to stay with his guy, not play top down in that linebacker mode, which we know he's good at in and around the line of scrimmage. But when you get in space in these high leverage situations, you see Andreessen kind of fold there. But really nice rush and line by Jackson. Unfortunately, he didn't make it home, but you see it. You saw it a couple times in this game where he kind of busted it out. Wide alignment, different tackle here. Again, changes that line, gets that tackle to look, stop his feet, punch those hands out. There is that cross chop again. Does a good job. I want to see him just, again, get there a little quicker, but he does get a hit on the quarterback, but there's a flag on this play. But I liked the hand usage here from him. And overall, I thought he had a really good game. And I will agree. When I watched it from the broadcast angle, I didn't have the same takeaway that I had after watching the all-22 and the end zone angle.
Yeah, I echo that. For as much as people were flaming him in my head, I didn't have like responses on the post-game show. I was like, no, he did X, Y, and Z. And I was like, yeah, I don't really remember seeing anything. And I watched the tape and I was like, oh, these are really nice. And this one's good too. Like the previous one, I've talked about it with him. Like I personally, I just don't like, I'm wary of guys that are high cut. Yeah. And how that leads to just how rigid you are or stiff in your lower body and the lack of flexibility and how that impacts the moves you can do, but also your ability to flatten. This is a nice flatten. He gets held up a little bit by 72. Like you can see the little slight hitch and then almost like he gets pushed through the slingshot of the arc there. But that's nice hand quickness, precision hands, and then the ability to flatten and get down the line, similar to what he did on the previous play. That to me, like personally, is very encouraging because I like what he can do with his hands and his length, but I worry about the ability to turn the corner, even if he's clean, because of how he's built physically and the body type that he has. So this one was really, these type of wins are very encouraging for me.
And I will say, I think there's a way for him to overcome that. If he can't always run the hoop or run the arc and flatten to the quarterback, there was another rep in this game, I didn't cut it, but there's another rep where he used the long arm, and because he realized, hey, I'm not going to win the outside edge. I'm going to use a long arm. And then Bagent kind of escaped out of the pocket on that play. But if he can, because he's going to challenge guys up the field once he gets into his rhythm, he's going to challenge guys up the field. And once he gets those guys setting,
lean with that left, lean with that inside arm and long arm the hell out of him,
and let him and throw him by. Grab him, throw him by, and then you'll be right at the depth of the quarterback. Then it's easier to flatten. So I think it'll come along. Maybe it's not the first quarter of the season. I do think he'll realize that, hey, I can get up the field. I can win the outside edge, and I just need to use my length. And we saw that a little bit in this game. And on that rush I'm talking about, he's just got to transition from that power move of the long arm of when he hits the top of the drop of the quarterback and the depth of the quarterback, throwing that guy by, because he's off balance and because of his length and size and power. And then you're going to be right at the quarterback's feet. Now you can close. It's a little easier than trying to run the hoop when he's a high cut player.
Yeah, being able to kind of put his foot in the ground and get back upfield and flat at quarterback depth, like you said, and tying off that threat of, so he can get outside. If I'm a tackle, he can get outside of me. He can beat me through my outside shoulder and flatten. And if he can use the cross chop, threaten with those moves, and then also have some of that speed to power in the long arm, then it starts to create, okay, I got to get outside, I got to set, I got to get out there, and now you can throw him by, work down the line, and then also tying two quarterbacks probably feeling that, thinking I got to step up, and you're stepping up right into the flatten of Jackson, and it creates pressure or a sack.
And to kind of wrap up the edge talk with Landon Jackson, so basically through 2 games, he has a 13.5 win percentage as a pass rusher, which is second behind Michael Hoyt, who we've talked enough about him. He's ready. I know he's going to be, I
felt bad when they put that tight end on him to end the first half and he just ran right through him.
And he had a PRP, a pass rush productivity rating of 8.1, Landon Jackson, 8.1. That leads everyone at edge position. As far as pass rush productivity goes, that leads everyone. So again, this was a big game, and you got to see and feel some of what Landon Jackson brings. Real quick, shout out Javon Solomon. I thought he was fantastic. And I know you agree. whether it's run, pass. He played with good leverage, his cross chop, his moves,
Mm.
his power, his speed to power move on right, the starting right tackle for the Bears. I thought that was phenomenal. Let me ask you, did Solomon's play this preseason make AJ Epinesa expendable? I'll ask you that, and then we'll transition to Jordan Hancock.
Oh, I want to say yes because I want the contract and the affordability and that positional value. I'm not there yet. I think he needs to do a little more in the third preseason game. But man, you talked about it, some of the flashes in this game again, and that cross chop was arguably like the best rep of anyone in this game. It was so clean. He works through
Hit
the
on the
initial,
quarterback.
he works through the initial redirect from the tight end and then seamlessly moves through that into the jumping cross chop and flattens and buries the QB. Like, it was so clean. It was so pretty. I want to say yes. I'm not there yet, but I could be depending on what happens. This is it. Yeah. Just like, look at him work through 86. Look how clean that is. Look how clean. The timing, bang, bang, and then buries the QB with a good hit right on his hip, put him into the ground. So pretty. What are your thoughts? Do you think he's done enough to make AJ expendable, or not there yet for you either?
I think with Hoyt being out 6 games, I think you wait. I think maybe trade deadline, possibly. Because I think that then you can kind of switch roles where AJ, you have an early down type run defender because obviously you're going to have Hoyt back, and he showed he can do it all. And so I think then maybe at the trade deadline, I think then you could start having those conversations after.
And a point for me too, if I knew Bosa was going to be healthy,
right,
and could play early downs, it would change my mind also.
Well, and I say this because when we're talking PFF pass rush ratings, PRP, again, Landon Jackson 8-1. He's number 1 in the preseason at edge. Michael Hoyt 7.5. Nelson Cesar, Javon Solomon 7.1. All right, 7.1. And this is kind of the dividing line. Javon Solomon was a 7.1 PRP in the preseason so far. AJ Epinesa is at 2.4 with 21 pass rushes. So early down player, AJ Epinesa has been that. He was that last year. Again, maybe you don't want Solomon as that backup early down player. You want him more in pass rush situations. That's why I say maybe AJ is that guy early in the year, but then once Hoyt comes back, maybe AJ is now, expendable. Hoyt comes in, and then now you have Solomon as a specialty rusher. That can also fill in some rundowns. I thought he's been physical enough to play the run when we're talking this preseason. I thought he's done a great job. He had a really nice rep against the tight end, winning inside, making the tackle. Like, he's ready. I think he's close to being ready, man.
Yeah, he's at a good camp. He had some really nice flashes in the red and blue scrimmage, or the blue and red, whatever verbiage it is. I can get there because I need AJ to be just essentially what he was last year that got overlooked, where he was like a top 20 something edge against the run. Like, if he's got to be that, and maybe even a little more, if he's not offering anything as a pass rusher, it's muddy, man. And yeah, I'm in a similar boat.
All right. So Jordan Hancock, listen,
best Bills safety in the history of the Bills.
I know everyone wants him to be in the starting safety conversation because Hamlin sucks, Bishop sucks. I'm not there yet, guys. And we're going to show you why. Again, there are some flashes like you're seeing one right here. You got to be able to do this.
This is
from
nice.
The safety position, coming from depth. It's a late rotation into a cover 3. So he is that B gap player on this play, but great job of beating that crack block by the wide receiver from the tight split and just making a play in the backfield. He had several of these in this game.
Yeah, this is design rotation. So shout out for the call, but I like the timing and the pacing of it. When he decides to make his run, he doesn't declare too early. He doesn't declare too late. So he's not kind of given that early indication, but he's also not getting beat to the spot by the wide receiver trying to hit that crack. So nice. And look at the you see the explosion there, that little hop step, bang, and he shoots. Like, that's a different type of speed, than the Bills have had at safety in that. Hamlin doesn't have that type of juice. I think Bishop has some of it, but he's been limited in his reps. Again, Bishop is great. I shouldn't say great. He's good, buzzing down from depth, whether by design or kind of on his own and feeling that out. But we've seen Hancock make a couple good plays coming forward, either as a blitzer or these late rotations, which the Bills have done. They've done these late rotations with their safeties, but it's nice to see him kind of making a play on that.
Here's one I think he'd want back. Post safety. This is a touchdown pass. You see the receiver at the bottom of the screen just slipping behind him. And I feel like Hancock did see him coming behind him, but he kind of loses sight of him, maybe loses leverage of him and feeling him behind him because it looked like he was in the passing window and he was going to trail this perfectly and deter that throw. But Bagent, he snuck it in there for a touchdown right behind Hancock here. Just disappointing to see because I thought he was in great position to make this play.
Completely agree. And yeah, the exact verbiage for me, like he's going to want this one back. You're going to see this on tape. Like it looks like he reads it, he feels it, he sees it, he's in position, and then he just gets too flat and trails off a bit. Yeah. And even with that, yeah, like that's a dot from Bagent. Like
I thought I had the end zone angle. I'm trying to find it. Hold on, Ant. I swear I had the end zone angle on this one, but let me see. Is it this one? No, that's not.
I have it on my Twitter. At some point, I can pull it up.
Definitely cut it. Nah, it's no big deal. Let's see here.
The only thing, is you kind of like see if you can find it. Not to put anyone on blast, and I understand they're at different levels of their career. If this, you and I were talking about this offline, if this happened to Cole Bishop or DeMar Hamlin right now, the discourse would be never ending. Yes, and I know, again, Hancock's a rookie. DeMar Hamlin has significant, more NFL experience. So I understand it's not necessarily apples to apples or even, Hancock to Bishop, but we have to keep the same energy. I did not see the film dropped off.
I got you.
Okay. We didn't see, and I don't want anybody to get flamed, but we didn't see the same level of outrage that, again, if it had happened to other certain safeties, I feel like the discourse would have been much different. Yeah, this angle gives you damn, man, this throw from Bagent is so nice. But yeah, Hancock's going to want this one back.
Yeah, like right there, man. It's almost like he was kind of challenging Bagent.
Yeah, maybe. Like he's baiting him, thinking like, baiting him, on this ball. Baiting Bagent and Dane's disdain. We got a lot of fun alliteration going on in this episode.
I know, right?
Yeah, maybe he was baiting him a little bit and trying to, thought he could get there. And maybe he was doing that. And maybe it's a learning experience that like, hey, man, backups in the NFL are still better than the starters in college. And you might think you're baiting somebody. Yeah, good learning. So maybe, that's kind of what it was. Maybe he didn't lose him. Maybe he knew he was there and he was trying to bait it. But either way, like that's one you're going to want back if you're Jordan Hancock, especially given where he was initially with his positioning.
Right. And here's a touchdown from the Bears. And you see Hamlin, and you talked about the little insert and kind of like crack block that they did on the safeties or these, C gap players, D gap players. Hamlin gets picked off right there. And then you see the touchdown. And so this was early in the game. And so they showed this look several times.
Yep.
And so you see later in the game, here comes, the same type of play. Here's Hancock in that gap, the D gap there. And you see him shoot the gap and make the tackle, but he doesn't really, he kind of hesitates at first. And honestly, I think if this wide receiver coming in actually does his job, I think this is also a touchdown, but he doesn't come all the way down to go crack on Hancock. And so Hancock makes the tackle. But Anthony, as good as that play was, the very next play, they do it again. Same alignment, same play, same wide receiver. And now you see,
bang,
boom, he actually does his job. And even Luther Burton, this is what's funny. He was getting praised on this play about how good of a block. And it was a good block on this one. But did they forget the play before when he completely did not block his assignment? Like, it's funny to see these back to back. You'd like to see Hancock understand, hey, Hamlin, he got cracked. The guy should have cracked me on the play he made the play on the tackle. And then finally, the wide receiver does a job, and he actually does pick up Hancock on this play.
Right. Yeah. And I would say the Bears wide receivers were push cracking with purpose. They were menaces and trying to, for as much as you can in today's NFL, they were trying to like take dudes' heads off with their push cracks, which was nice. But yeah, Burton doesn't do anything in the play before, does here. You'd like to see Hancock recognize that, feel it a little bit, leverage that gap a little bit more. And then again, another one for me, Dorian Strong, just where are you in your run fit? The previous one that we showed with Burton cracking on Hamlin, Strong almost thinks like, it looks like it thinks it's going to be a jet motion, and it's almost looking like he's trying to go to the other side of the formation, and look how far inside he gets caught. Yeah, he crosses the field goal post, and that's I saw some people here were like, oh, horrible play by Joe Andreessen. Like, no, that's Dorian Strong. Like, you got to
Yeah.
make that play, my man. Like, you got to fit. They're running duo. That is, you are the unblocked defender. They are putting you in conflict by design. You got to step up. You are that force player. That is your alley to execute in. And we keep seeing that from Dorian Strong, which is pissing me off because you went to Virginia Tech. Like, you know how to fit the run and play defense, get your eyes right, fit.
I feel like we do this every year too. With the push crack stuff, the crack replace stuff, I feel like one team throughout the season just hammers the Bills with it. And they kind of like, okay, then they make up for it. And then they start doing it properly. And they start being keen to situations and formations or alignments where that crack is coming on the safety and the corner has to replace. I feel like one team always gets the Bills. And maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Ben Johnson, he probably did it 8 to 10 times in this game. And so maybe this is the early learning experience for the Bills safeties and young corners like Dorian Strong. But let's move on. Here's a play by Hancock that I think he affected this play as a flats player. He's dropping in to zone coverage here. Cover 3. He's a flats player. I think he affects this throw to the flats, but I think that if he trusted his eyes, I think he can go make a play on this. I think he could almost get a turnover on this play. But you see a little hesitation right there. Go.
Yeah.
Go get it. And like I said, I think the throw was affected. I think the quarterback purposely threw it out here. But if he just trusts his eyes, if he has attention to detail and trusts his vision, you hear Babich and McDermott talk about guys playing with vision, playing with their eyes and trusting it. I think Hancock, if he did that here, he may have gotten an interception.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. He spins down and you can see him processing what he's got in front of him. So he initially looks towards, Loveland in the slot, the number 2, and he sees him going across. So you're done there. He points and he points to Hancock is pointing it out. He calls it out. Get into your spot. And then you can read that upfield shoulder of the quarterback, read the body language. If he shoots it there, and I understand having some trepidation, but it's that second hop that you talked about. Like, he reads it from here and it's there. It's that pause right there. He hops and he stops. Even if he's still moving and slow playing it, even if he doesn't shoot and trigger immediately, if he just keeps his feet moving, there's a chance that he gets a PBU or he might get an INT on that play. But because he was there and it's nice. Read number 2. 2 is going on the over. Call it out. Get to your spot. The curl to the flat. Recognize what you got going on there. Or maybe he's worried about it slipping in behind him. But that would have been nice to see from him.
So details, right? Details. Post safety here. Here comes a crosser. You're a slicer. You're cutting that, and you're getting the replacement from the corner at the top of the screen. You see him hesitant about doing that. And honestly, if Bagent wasn't pressured by Jackson, and he has a little more time, this guy's eliminated. But this guy who Hancock should be cutting and slicing would be wide open for a big play. And he's fast. He might get up the sideline there for a big play. So details. When the coaches talk about, pump the brakes on Hancock being a starting safety or challenging for that position, I think they're telling you, go watch the film and watch how some of the details are lacking right now for the young safety there in Jordan Hancock.
And I think on this one, I watched this a bunch on the end zone angle. I think he thinks the ball got handed off.
You could be that too.
So he's playing and look at where his eyes are. It's like he's following 33. He's ready to peel down on the run. And then all of a sudden he goes, he doesn't have the ball. And because his eyes go back to Bagent, his eyes go into the pocket and go, the quarterback has it. So he is completely fooled, whether it's responsibility, whether he read past, but it's a responsibility error. I think he
that's
read
possible.
Run and thought it was run.
Had really good mechanics there, so that's very possible as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm just looking at his eyes and following him and the way he triggers. I think he read run and got caught taking the cheese. And dude is wide open on that drag. And kudos to Bagent though. Man, Bagent had himself a game. Again, shout out to him for getting that contract extension. That's real good rhythm and action on that play action piece from him. Shout out to him again. Well done.
Yeah. So again, details that they matter. And there was some good stuff on film from these young guys, young players that we believe could have impact throughout this season. But there's a lot of things they can also work on. You see some of the struggles whether it's anchoring at the point of attack for Sanders, whether it's Deone Walker playing with that pad level way too high, or just not fitting the right gaps and doing his 111th to be rewarded for that, or things like that, just not covering the slice, losing track of the ball. There's some things that we saw that we liked from these young players, but a lot of growing pains as well, like the title says.
Yeah. And I think some of that is par for the course, right? I think, the concerns we had for Walker have been shown, but some of the positives that we talked about or that others lauded him for have been shown as well. But again, work in progress. He's, I think, a big project guy, but if that project pays off, you could have a really high upside type of guy. But the floor is what it is, given his body type and his stature and his physical makeup and how he operates from a play style standpoint. And Sanders, I think Sanders, I'm not too worried. Sanders, for me, I think has very much been par for the course. I thought he would be fine as a rusher and be able to penetrate and do his stuff. Yeah, he's going to be fine. He's got to, work on reading double teams, dropping that knee. Maybe he puts on a little bit of muscle at some point or some weight and changes things a little bit. But even with that, I think especially for this year as a rookie, I think this is what we're going to have to live with. There's going to be times where he gets blown off the ball and you're like, dude, he's 5 yards downfield, or man, this base block took him 3 or 4 yards downfield. And then you're going to forget about it because he's going to beat somebody on 3rd and 7 and heat up the QB, or they're going to run a run stunt or a run blitz on 1st down and he's going to shoot in and blow up a play and it's 2nd and 13. I think that's where you get the yin and the yang aspect of what they've leaned into on the interior.
And let's be honest here. Do you want a defensive lineman to have a pretty good pass rush acumen and have to be taught to run, or vice versa? I think the Bills approach it the proper way where, hey, maybe they're going to have some struggles or inconsistencies against the run. But hey, when those high leverage 3rd and 4th downs happen, you saw you get them one-on-ones. If you schematically can get them one-on-ones or give them those two-way goes, those two guys in Walker and Sanders, they're going to make some impact plays. That's why, you see the thumbnail in the background, the impact watch. Like, those guys are going to make some splash plays, but as you said, they're going to have some lapses and inconsistencies in some of the run stuff as the season goes on. But I'm excited of the young crop and overall, the overhaul, that the Bills, committed to on the defensive side of the ball, the youth that they injected into the defense. I think there will be those ups and downs and roller coaster rides this year, but I do think that they are going to make some plays and become some household names and really names of the future for the Bills defense.
Yeah, and they're going to need to be, especially early on. Larry Ogunjobi being out, that means TJ Sanders is probably defensive tackle 3. Deone Walker might be defensive tackle 4 right now with how Dwayne Carter has looked. So you're going to need to hang your hat on them a little bit. And even when Ogunjobi comes back, Sanders, I think, is a lock for a top 4 in the rotation. Yeah. And you take those guys in the interior. You take Landon Jackson on the edge. AJ Epinesa is a UFA next year. You only signed Joey Bosa for 1 year. Landon Jackson would be ideally a nice core piece to have going forward. And we're going to see what we get from those guys, up front. And maybe potentially Hancock on the back end. We'll see what happens with Hamlin. We'll see if Bishop's injury concerns still manifest positively or negatively. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I thought this was some disappointing aspects. But again, even for somebody like me, who my biggest worry for this team is what happens in the spine and how much displacement and blowing off the ball happens against the spine and the interior. I think some of it is par for the course. And, there's positives and negatives, the yin and the yang to these guys. And we'll see what happens as we start to go forward in preseason week 3 and then the regular season to come after that. Eric, do you have any parting thoughts or final words for the people before we say goodbye?
No, just, we appreciate everyone tuning in live after work, probably right around dinner time, or if you're on the West Coast on your way home. Thanks for, taking a look at us and in the film room. And if you didn't get through all of it, obviously you can find the replay on YouTube, all of our audio platforms. The podcast can be found there as well. And if you haven't had a chance, give Turf to Tape a look. Sal Capaccio and I are doing a weekly show as well, where we kind of bridge a gap between the media and film analysis that Anthony and I do to, again, reach the common fan and make this game that is very complex more digestible. So give that a look on YouTube as well. It can be found on our YouTube channel. It can be found on Sal's YouTube channel. And of course, in audio platform, wherever you get your podcast. But we appreciate all the support, everyone that joined us, everyone that is watching the replay, the word of mouth. Like it's awesome that, you know, we have this type of support in the off season, and with the season right around the corner, we're excited to dive into the film from the regular season, which is just around the corner.
It's a very, very exciting time for us here at the brand, and, you know, tying into the Bills season and the start of real football coming back. And then, yeah, this new show that's been added with Eric and Sal. So we hope you folks check out Turf to Tape, the multitude of shows we have across the channel. We're starting to get into that regular season routine and rhythm going forward. And we appreciate everybody who joins us along the way. Real quick, this question from Matt, simple answer. Matt says, would the Bills have taken Tyleik Williams if he fell to our pick? According to reports, that is exactly what would have happened. Apparently, the Bills told Tyleik if he was there in round 1, he would have been their pick. He was not. My heart still hurts because of it, but I was always going to type out the answer, but figured to answer it quickly right there. And we'll see what he becomes and what these Bills players become. And we hope you folks enjoyed this episode. If you are watching live or watching post live, please drop a like here on YouTube. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams. Yes, as James in the comments says, pizza muffins for everyone. Absolutely. We're going to be reaching out to Connor McGovern. We need that invite. Yeah, drop a like here on this video. Turn on notifications for the film room here on YouTube. Subscribe to the Cover One channel for, again, the multitude of content we have coming at you pretty much every single day of the week, come regular season time, in various forms and fashions. Whatever your poison is, we have it for you here for the Buffalo Bills, and, you know, some football extensions by that as well. If you're listening to the show on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, that is very much appreciated as well. Please rate, review, and subscribe. And as Eric mentioned, word of mouth is also tremendously helpful. If you've got family, friends, or loved ones who like the Bills or like football or want to learn more, we appreciate, you know, any type of acknowledgement or encouragement, or, hey, you should check this show out or check these guys out. So any and every ounce of support we're thankful for and appreciative of. Thank you for tuning in live as we get closer to this regular film room rhythm. Now that we're closer to the regular season, we hope you folks enjoyed this episode. For myself, Anthony Prohaska, for the godfather and founder of Cover One, Mr. Eric Turner, this has been another episode of the Cover One Film Room. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. We will see you when we see you. I will see you on Disguised Coverage live immediately following the Bills' third preseason game this Saturday night. Let's stay up late and talk about why everything is on fire or why everything is amazing. So I'll see you when I see you. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.